what's up everyone? Welcome to another video, and today I just want to go to the archives, just in case many of you have missed what this is. So I'm playing the mobile version. It says, "Welcome to the archives. Bendy and the Ink Machine began when developer/cartoonist known as V. Meatley experimented with bringing a sketched 2D style into a 3D world. After turning the idea into a horror game, Chapter 1 of the game was created in a little under a week with a programmer/friend, Mike Mood, and released on February 10th in 2017. Much to their surprise, it struck a chord with global indie games almost overnight. The Meatley and Mike's Mood decided to drop all other projects to work on Bendy and tell a most unique Ink story. The entire game was completed a chapter at a time in a year and a half by a small but dedicated group of indie developers. Although the concept and story remained as originally intended, the game changed over development as characters and models were refined from their early thrown-together versions. This archive is a peek behind the scenes at that process." So here we have all of the makes in the works. So we have Concept Bendy, the first version of Bendy modeled. He was much smaller and had a face that opened to reveal a terrifying mouth. And honestly, this would have looked good. Maybe as like a boss fight or something. Honestly, for this to be a concept, this is honestly really good looking. This looks more of like modern era Bendy. And then we have the Alpha Bendy. The original game used design of Ink Bendy from the earliest version of Chapter 1. Apparently it's jokingly referred to as bird poop with a smile among the development team, most likely an inside joke. Man. I'm sure there's like archives of like the earliest versions or the earliest version of Bendy and the Ink Machine somewhere around the internet, but this is just the earliest version of Bendy. Then we have Beta Bendy, a little more cleaned up, but still needing worked on. We have, this was Ink Bendy's form until the release of Chapter 4. The time the game received a major visual upgrade, and the title character got a new model as well. And then we have Ink Bendy. See, it's better because it has more texture. Is enhanced with a higher polygon count. I think you can notice that. Better effects. And honestly, this overall looks awesome. So, like, some changes is like the heads a little bit spread out more. If you can't tell, this smile's a bit bigger as well. Anyway, we have Beast Bendy. This is Ink Bendy's horrific form in Chapter 5, pulled away the cartoon facade and revealed the demon within. These are the beta searchers, early in development, just a few weeks to create Chapter 2. The beta searchers were designed in record time before being fully retooled later on. They were the first fighting enemies encountered in the game. So as you can see in the final searcher, they got a big upgrade. Far more robust in appearance, this says, with better ink effects and a more human appearance. But honestly, this one would have looked... The ink is supposed to make them not look human. So honestly, this looks more like a cartoon than anything. I honestly like the beta version. Just fix it up a bit more, give it more rounded curves, and then boom, you have the perfect searcher. But, you know, that's just my opinion. We have Beta Sammy Lawrence. some noticeable differences between the two is that the mask is less shiny, and this Sammy Lawrence has a more bulky appearance to, what does it say? With a more bulked up stature, more powerful limbs, to like signify his like dominance. I do prefer the final Sammy over the beta Sammy, though the beta Sammy will always have remains in my heart. And then we have the classic Watcher. Then we have Alice Angel, Allison, Tom. Oh, we have the Beta Boris in the earliest version of Chapter 1, I believe. Papa was the original name of the character that eventually became Boris the Wolf. This early version was released with Chapter 1, and was quickly refined into the Boris we know today with the release of Chapter 2. Again, you could probably find the early version of Bendy and the Ink Machine scouring somewhere on the internet. But for now, this is all we got. We got classic Boris the Wolf. He was designed with, stuff from the 90s. And then we have Brute Boris, which I think it says here. I've been here before, but it says here that, like, when Boris was captured, Alice Angel started taking out things of him to make Alice more beautiful, and kept stuffing things back in to make them replace the parts she took out, but it kept regurgitating, and it kind of looked like the Boris from Chapter 1, except more gory. Anyway, we have a few more. We have the original Ink Machine. It wasn't supposed to come out of the ground or anything. Oh, also that's there. I don't think anyone's noticed that before. But, anyway, the original Ink Machine, before a major visual upgrade, this version of the Ink Machine was the one used in the game. The iconic thing was used in like the final design of the Ink Machine. We also have the Butcher Gang, the Piper, Striker, and Fisher. Guessing that's the Piper, that's the Striker, and that's the Fisher. And make up the dreaded Butcher Gang. Interestingly, the ink-corrupted versions of the characters were designed first, and then were reverse-engineered back into their more family-friendly cartoon forms. So imagine how hard it was to create these monstrosities, and then have to create a family-friendly version of these, that are like all fixed up. Now, I think what would have been the hardest is maybe Fisher. And then we have, I just feel bad for Bertram, because all he wanted was some recognition, but he couldn't get it. And then we have some concept art around here. Again, I just wanted to make this video to get everything in here that some people may have missed. Another thing they may have missed is this, which, interestingly enough, the mysterious hand isn't in here. This is the only thing we have of it in here. So yeah, I think these are just like concept arts of the characters. Cause like you can notice there, she's wearing an apron, probably for like so her dress doesn't get all inky. And then in the finalized version, she don't have it. And honestly, Alice's design is much the same. So is Boris's, except like the bones, his ribs aren't protruding. But other than that, he's pretty much the same. So yeah, that's the archives. just in case you missed anything that you wanted to. I made sure to get everything in here. It's concept art if you want to pause, take a look at them. Yeah, that's everything. Bye guys.